As the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran continues, Pentagon officials have clarified that there is no definitive timeframe for ending the conflict. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told reporters that the decision to stop the fighting will ultimately rest with President Donald Trump, emphasizing that U.S. objectives in Iran remain on target and on plan.
Yesterday at Dover Air Force Base, President Trump, the chairman, and I stood in solemn silence as heroes came home. Flag-draped caskets, we honored them. We grieved with their families, and we listened. What I heard through tears, through hugs, through strength, and through unbreakable resolve was the same from family after family. They said, finish this. Honor their sacrifice. Do not waver. Do not stop until the job is done. My response, along with that of the president, was simple. Of course, we will finish this. We will honor their sacrifice. Their sacrifice only steals our commitment.
Hegseth added that the latest strike package against Iran would be the largest yet, with the country's ability to develop new ballistic missiles reportedly suffering the hardest impact.
To date, we've struck over 7,000 targets across Iran and its military infrastructure. That is not incremental. That is overwhelming force applied with precision. And again, today will be the largest strike package yet, just like yesterday was. As I've said from day one, our capabilities continue to build, Iran's continue to degrade. We're hunting and striking death and destruction from above.
Meanwhile, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent indicated that Washington may ease restrictions on Iranian oil already at sea, while also considering a unilateral release of reserves to help stabilize global supply. These statements come amid heightened tensions, following Iranian retaliation for U.S. Israeli strikes on its key energy sites, including the South Pars gas field. Iran's military has renewed threats of far stronger retaliation if its energy infrastructure is attacked again. In a statement carried by Fars news agency, Qadim al-Anbiya, Iran's operational command, warned that repeated strikes would target the energy infrastructure of the United States, its allies, and the Gulf region, escalating the conflict further. Diplomatic efforts continue alongside military operations. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi reportedly held phone conversations with his counterparts in Turkey, Egypt, and Pakistan, discussing U.S. and Israeli military actions and the need for regional coordination. Meanwhile, Russia has called for a safety island around its Bushehr nuclear plant to prevent a potential disaster, noting that any incident there could have regional consequences due to the presence of large quantities of fissile and spent nuclear material. European leaders have weighed in on the crisis. French President Emmanuel Macron criticized recent strikes on Gulf energy facilities as a reckless escalation, warning of the long-term impact if regional production capacities are destroyed.
Plusieurs autres pays du Golfe ont été frappés pour la première fois sur leur capacité de production, de la même manière que l'Iran avait été frappé le matin. Cette escalade est inconsidérée. J'ai pu hier ensuite parler avec le président Trump et il a, dans la nuit, lui-même appelé à cesser tous ces bombardements et ces attaques contre les infrastructures civiles, gaz, pétrole, mais aussi eau. Et je veux dire ici, nous défendons l'idée d'un moratoire sur les infrastructures civiles, les personnes civiles dans ce conflit, et une désescalade rapide. Et alors que la région entre dans une période de fête religieuse, je pense que tous les esprits devraient se calmer et le combat devrait stopper au moins pour quelques jours pour essayer de redonner une chance aux négociations.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz welcomes signals from President Trump that combat could end, suggesting Europe could play a role in stabilizing the Middle East once fighting stops. Both leaders emphasized the importance of diplomacy and international mandates to ensure peace and security. The United Kingdom also condemned Iranian strikes on Qatar's main gas hub, the world's largest liquefied natural gas facility. Prime Minister Keir Starmer described the strikes as egregious and said Britain was working toward a swift resolution in consultation with NATO chief Mark Rutte and President Macron. On the ground, hostilities continue in southern Lebanon, where Hezbollah claims to have engaged Israeli forces. The group says it ambushed troops in Tebeh, destroyed a tank, and fired rockets at Israeli positions and military bases, including Tefan and even Munekim, as well as newly established positions opposite the border town of Alma al-Shab. Amid this conflict, questions have arisen about the U.S. administration's handling of foreign policy. Oman's Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaidi, who mediated indirect talks between the United States and Iran, described the war as a catastrophe and wrote that the Trump administration had lost control of its own foreign policy. Al-Basaidi noted that substantive talks in Oman and Geneva in early February had suggested a negotiated resolution was possible, but Israel and the United States launched military strikes just hours after the final round of negotiations, derailing potential peace efforts. Additionally, the FBI has reportedly investigated a former U.S. counterterrorism official who resigned over the Iran war. Joseph Kent, ex-director of the National Counterterrorism Center, stated in his resignation letter that Iran posed no imminent threat and suggested that U.S. involvement in the conflict was influenced by pressure from Israel. As the situation in the Middle East evolves, Iran has warned repeatedly that further attacks on its energy infrastructure will trigger a stronger response, raising concerns over regional stability and global energy supplies.